Welcome back to Nothing Without Us, a disability advocacy podcast produced by Lakeshore Foundation. I'm your host, Alie B. Gorrie, and today is a very special episode because it is our season 1 finale. We have loved sharing these episodes with you this year, and we can't wait for more. Today, though, we are doing things a little bit different. Lakeshore CEO John Kemp will actually be interviewing me for a change. So I'll be in the hot seat answering questions, and I'm super excited to see what happens.
Alie, welcome, and thank you very much for being a part of our podcast. You are the host of Nothing Without Us podcast, and you've done a fantastic job, and you are such a figure in this community and in the United States. We're honored to have you as our host.
Thank you so much. I'm truly delighted to be in this seat. I can exhale a little bit.
Well, I'm going to try and live up to your standards, which are very, very high, and done a great job. But I've got a first question.
Yeah.
The title of our podcast is Nothing Without Us. That's a disability mantra, shortened from nothing about us without us. And what does nothing without us mean to you?
Oh gosh, it means so much. And I'm going to try to explain it with a metaphor because I have to. So when I think about disability inclusion in a very broad way, like if I'm going to talk to someone about disability inclusion or how to be more inclusive, right? I love to use this metaphor of a party and planning a party. So if something's accessible to people with disabilities, they can physically access the party. Like they can get into the door, they can have a good time, their access needs are met, like bare minimum. If something's inclusive, the person with the disability is out on the dance floor, having a big time, getting snacks, doing whatever they want, the party's a blast. But if something facilitates true belonging, that's where I feel like nothing without us. To me, nothing without us is a synonym for belonging. And when I think about belonging, I think about the people with the disabilities being the ones who actually are on the party planning committee, right? So nothing without us to me means that disabled people are on the front lines of change, innovation, leadership in all areas of life, from the workforce to arts, sports, media, entertainment, just living at home, right? But people with disabilities are in the driver's seat, per se.
Beautiful, beautiful. Couldn't agree more. So I'm going to go back to your childhood.
Yeah.
Ask you a little bit about, when did you first realize you had a disability? Because a lot of kids grow up and they're just, the world is all about them and everybody's hovering around them, and all of a sudden they realize at some point I'm a little different, and kind of take us through that little period of time, if you don't mind.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting is, as a young person, I knew I had a disability. I went to the Alabama Institute for Deaf and Blind for early intervention up until about first grade. And I was aware, but I didn't feel any sense of difference or otherness, right? I just read things with the paper this close to my face, which, if you're listening, means directly on top of my face. I never knew anything different, and I really just thought I wasn't comparing myself because I was a kid, and I was, again, in my world, the people around me were lifting me up, and it really wasn't until about middle school, and I think that's when most kids in general developmentally feel different or odd or something. But it was really through my involvement in the arts community from a young age, and like really wanting to pursue the arts at a professional level, even as a little kid, to being in middle school and having arts educators say, like, you're going to have to learn to talk about your vision impairment because your access needs aren't getting met and you're getting lost in the shuffle, and your talent, like, if you want to keep up, you have to advocate for yourself. And this was a conversation that my voice teacher had with me when I was 13. I remember it, February 20th of that year. And I call it my advocacy birthday because that was the worst day and the best day ever. Because she was the one that told me, hey, yes, you do have a disability. Newsflash. I mean, I knew, but I didn't want to own it. And she helped me create a monologue for myself to be able to advocate for myself. So she was giving me a tool that I use as an actor and said, okay, we got to learn how to advocate for yourself. So write a monologue, because just like memorizing lines, once you practice something enough, it doesn't have so much emotional weight and baggage. So that was my advocacy birthday. That was when I learned how to speak up for myself. But yeah, I had around that middle school time was also when I was hearing a lot of directors say things like, what's wrong with your eyes? Or why are you holding your sheet music so close to your face? And before I had those conversations with my voice teacher, I had no clue how to talk back to these people. I just would start crying because I didn't have the language.
Were you trying to pass? That's really
yeah.
what a lot of us do when we're very young, or we have not accepted the fact that we have limitations. But so you were trying to pass until it just became so difficult that you realized that I got to be upfront about this, and I've got to be, and then you feel emboldened, hopefully.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting point you brought up about trying to pass. Because again, I think a lot of us, if we are the only disabled person that has a disability, like I was the only low vision kid in my public school, so I didn't have other people to talk to about it. So I just faked it till I made it, basically. And that was in every area of my life. I mean, the sports I picked and played as a child were diving and horseback riding, okay? Like both involved some depth perception that I didn't have. But I just pretended to do what I thought I needed to do until I was at risk of getting severely hurt. And then I had to, again, learn how to advocate for myself. Similarly, right? I think that's something that a lot of us have to grapple with. And same with school, right? The reading load, once you get to middle school, just increases a billion-fold, and the print shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. And sadly, in middle school, with you have low vision, you have like 8 volumes of a math textbook because it's all in size 30 font. And so you, have premature back pain at age 12, but also you can't lie about your disability when you have 8 volumes of a math textbook and say, oh, you don't have the 8-volume version? Like you have to say, yeah, I can't see, so that's why I have this large print library of textbooks. You know?
So tech, had it been developed then, would have been so helpful to you.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
It would have, and I must say that even when tech was introduced to me later on in my teen years, I was still really hesitant to use it because even though I was already standing out, the low vision disability tech, it's getting better, but it was bulky and really ugly. Even when I got the glasses that I wear to drive a car, they're called bioptics, and they only made one color, and it was ugly brown. And I used to say, like, why does low vision have to equal low fashion? Because it just, the availability of tech, it wasn't, you've got the iPhone coming out, and then your low vision magnifier is this huge brick. So I think even with tech, I was so self-conscious. It really wasn't until my early adulthood that I'm like, give me all the tech because my eyes just hurt and I need it.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Tell me about your introduction to sports. Lakeshore is certainly a very physical activity place. Paralympic teams come here, 4,000 members, just a great place to exercise and get movement. So you were introduced to sport, or you decided, I want to be in the game. I don't want to be sitting on the sidelines.
Oh, yeah.
And so you tell me, what sports did you besides? I heard swimming and horseback riding.
So, yeah, swimming and horseback. And as an adult, I run a lot. I love running. I love Pilates. I actually am certified in yoga and Pilates as an adult. But growing up, I did try all the ball sports, except goalball, because I didn't know what that was as a kid. Wow. But I was on a soccer team. I was on a softball team. I was on a basketball team, trying everything out. And just, my parents never told me, you stink at this. They never told me you have never caught one ball that's been thrown to you. They just said, hey, whenever you want to move on, we can move on. But if you love it, stay. So I really am grateful that I, as a little kid, got to try a lot of sports and got to have that fun relationship and being a part of a team. I actually think I learned even more about teamwork through being an actor, but we can talk about that later. But yeah, now as an adult, I run a lot of half marathons. I have a goal to train for a full next year. Wow. And I love being a member. Yeah, but I love being a member here at Lakeshore because not only can I run and train on the track, but I can do all my cross training. And there's something really special about being surrounded by other folks, disabled and non-disabled, like working together to meet fitness goals. That's extremely inspiring, and not in the icky way that we don't like as disabled people, but inspiring of like, heck yes, like we're all in here getting it done.
I love your reference to your parents and my dad. My mama died when I was young. My dad gave me the same kind of advice. He never told me no. He let me figure out that I wasn't very good at it. So it sounds like your parents never told you no.
Exactly.
You're not good at it. It's like you're going to find out if you really love this and whether you really want to keep pursuing it, right?
Well, right. And the things I was good at, instead of them telling me, no, you're not good at this, when I was really taken to theater, even as like a fifth grader, I was auditioning for a touring production of Annie in Atlanta. And my parents drove me to the Fox Theater and they said, like, you're good enough to do this. And I got to do it. So I was more encouraged in other areas. So I've definitely pursued those, but I was never discouraged.
Perfect. But that leads me into your acting.
Yeah.
And it started here. Obviously, you said Atlanta. Then you went to the big city.
Absolutely.
Big Apple, where every actor wants to go. Just talk about your journey in that, and how many barriers did you run into, which I'm sure were great, but how did you overcome the barriers?
Sure.
And some of it's just purely attitudinal. It's not anything else.
Yeah. So acting has been a part of my life since I was 9 years old, and really even younger, but I grew up loving Broadway musicals and listening to soundtracks in the car. Like all the other kids were listening to Backstreet Boys and Britney Spears. And I was like, guys, have you heard Bernadette Peters? Did not get me a lot of cool points, but it's what I loved. And so I pursued it. I was going off in the summers to train in other cities and other states just because I wanted more experience. I was such a nerd and went to theater camps all over the country. And when I went to school, I got into musical theater programs at a handful of schools, ultimately decided on Belmont University in Nashville, where I trained in musical theater and I had a really great experience. However, I was the only artist with low vision that had come through that musical theater program. So at that time, they were trying to sort of train me to try and mask as best as I can. And that sounds bad, but when you think about it, Broadway at the time had no one with a disability that was openly disclosing on stage. Literally 0% of Actors Equity members at the time who were employed on Broadway. None. So they were trying their best to say, hey, we know that your eyes cross or shift, and let's try to like find the best angles for you or whatever. And otherwise, they just barely even talked about it. So I get to New York because I did what every musical theater student does, go to New York. Right when I graduated, I got an internship with a Broadway director. Learned so much from him and started auditioning. And right off the bat, I actually had some pretty instant luck because I looked really young, so I could play like kid/teenage parts. And I had that kind of sprite energy. And it was great. And I booked a national tour and a couple of shows in the New York area. And when I got back from tour, I had gotten an agent and I was getting some auditions for bigger parts in Broadway and things that just were mind-blowing to me, and even some films. And when I would get into these bigger rooms, I would hear people say the things that I had heard as a teenager. Like, what's wrong with your eyes? Or why do you look like that? Or why do you hold your paper so close? Or sometimes I would advocate for myself before learning a dance combination. And before the audition, I'd tell the choreographer, hey, I have low vision, I have a rare eye disease, I have to learn the dance in the front row. And when you tell all the dancers to switch lines, I can't, because I can literally only see you from 5 feet away. So sometimes choreographers would look back at me and say, well, if you can't see, then how can you dance? In an audition that I was invited to be in.
Just watch.
Right, exactly. So I was getting this pushback that I hadn't really felt since I was a teenager. And I didn't know how to handle it. I was 23 at the time, maybe. So it sent me on a research rabbit hole, and I was Googling everything I could. I was like, disability in theater. Are there any blind people in theater? Low vision in theater? And I just Googled my little heart, my heart's desire. I Googled forever. And I found this organization that sadly no longer exists called the National Alliance for Inclusion in the Arts. And what this organization did was they served as, I used to call them my blind girl agent, because if certain performances or theaters were looking for roles that were specifically disabled, they would connect those actors to those theaters. So they would get us auditions and kind of do the advocacy legwork for us, so that we just got to go into an audition and our materials were in large print and high contrast, and we just got to go in and do our job, which is rare, because when you're the only disabled actor in an audition room of 500 people and you have to advocate for yourself and do all this extra work before you even get to do your work as an actor. And that gets really old and annoying. So Inclusion for the Arts introduced me to this really amazing woman named Christine Bruno. And she was the first person that I had met who had been in the Actors Union, both stage and film, been doing this for a long time. She's an actress with CP. She introduced me to all these other advocates who were actors in the space. And all of a sudden, I wasn't alone. And I was learning, because I now wasn't just friends with actors who were blind and low vision, but I had friends who were actors who had all kinds of disabilities, folks with CP, amputees, deaf actors, I mean, you name it. We were all in this community and we were learning from each other. So it just, I hate saying it opened my eyes. What a horrible thing for a half-blind person to say, but whatever. But it really broadened my horizons, because I was being exposed and made aware of not only what I was experiencing as an actor with low vision, but the community. And as an adolescent, I did a lot of advocacy work here in Birmingham for kids and teens with low vision. So like that was my lane. But as an adult, like I wouldn't even have said like, oh, I'm disabled. I would have just said I'm legally blind or low vision, you know? And I sort of facilitated it, not sort of, it definitely facilitated the first sense of disability pride I ever had, and disability just ownership and a sense of community that I'd never had in my life. So New York really set the stage for, I mean, I think I wouldn't be doing this podcast if I didn't meet some of the advocates and the actors and the leaders in the community that I met in New York City.
Life doesn't slow down. As a mom, a wife, and a U.S. Paralympic gold medalist, I take every advantage I can get. Restorative sleep powers my recovery, sharpens my mind, and gives me the strength to rise to every challenge, on the slopes and at home. When you sleep well, you show up strong, for yourself and the people you love. That's why I choose a Sattva mattress. Sattva, unlock the superpower of restorative sleep.
At Lakeshore Foundation, we believe in a world in which every person has the opportunity to achieve a healthy, active, independent life. For 100 years, we've been impacting lives through inclusive fitness, sports, and recreation. Our mission is to encourage and provide opportunities for people to live a healthy lifestyle through activity, research, and advocacy. Join us. Together, we can make every day a new beginning.
So, Alie, tell us all, who are you wearing?
Who am I wearing? Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, John. You know, I actually rent my clothes these days, so this dress is a newly find. N-U-U-L-Y. I rented it from Anthropology. This jean jacket I've had since middle school, so I couldn't tell you. And my shoes are Saludos. Thank you for asking, John.
You're so welcome. You are high styling, too.
Please.
All right. I'm just curious about your career.
Yeah.
Because your career is now taking you all over the country. And last I heard in the last couple of days was you have been emceeing very large shows.
Oh, yes.
And you're like MC to the 10th degree, not MC squared, but you're MC to the 10th
Hammer.
degree.
No, I'm just kidding.
But you found your voice, so to speak. You have found another avenue
Sure.
for a career in disability and in performance arts. So what's going on? What's your life like?
Well, no day is the same, which I really like. I've tried to do like the corporate DEI role, and I just couldn't do it because as an artist, I have to have that diversity of schedule and project. And as a creative and an educator, I love to travel and teach students and adults too, all over the country. So lately, it's funny. So we're talking today. It's November. I know this is going to air in a couple weeks, but what is it? November 13th, I think. And tonight on Peacock, I'm hosting the Audio Description Awards Gala. So it's a huge award show
Great.
for leaders in the field of audio description, which we got to film at 30 Rock. It was really cool. I felt fancy for a day. And, there was the whole hair and makeup.
Fancy all the time.
It was so fun, but it was really exciting. And it was my second year to get to host. And I always get to host with another actress who is blind or low vision. And last year I got to host with the very first actress I ever met with low vision. Her name's Marilee Talkington. She's so cool, and she was my role model when I was in New York, and still is. She's pretty. I almost said a cuss. She's awesome. But then this time I'm hosting with another actress named Ashley Hicks, who's been on some TV shows and some really cool acting gigs, who also does a lot of consulting in the access space. And so that's a really neat project. And then I love teaching. So when I'm here in Birmingham, I teach theater at Samford University. I'm the youth theater director at the Jewish Community Center.
Wow.
And I teach a handful of students private lessons and master classes, and I teach tap dance over at the Dance Foundation, which
My goodness.
is a blast. So I love all the ways I get to plug into the arts here in Birmingham. I never saw myself moving back to Birmingham. The pandemic had other plans for me, and Birmingham kind of continues to blow me away. So I stay here, but I stay here knowing that I spend a lot of my summers, a lot of my weekends going and hosting or teaching or traveling and speaking all over, just because I think I definitely need the change of pace and perspective and the inspiration that we can get from just being in new places.
That's great. I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
So you've got a host of options.
Yeah.
And do you have a booking agent? Do you have somebody that schedules you? I mean, how do you do it all yourself?
Yeah, I had a theater agent and a film and TV agent when I was in New York. But now that I've moved more into speaking and directing and working just in a different side of things, I should have a little more support there because my schedule is nuts, but I just try my best, and I am grateful for my fiance, who's very gracious with me and my schedule when it gets to be wild.
It's great. When you meet parents with a child with a visual disability,
Yeah.
do you feel a connection to them, and do you sense that they're so lost and that this is all new to them, depending maybe on how old or young their child is? Because I have found that people are just. This is the first they've ever experienced this world of disability, and it's all new. So, are you play comforter? Do you play advisor? How do you address young parents?
That's a great question, and I get to meet a lot of them because I have an organization with UAB Center for Low Vision called Songs for Sight, and through this organization, we have new kids and families come through every year for support groups and fun camps at Children's Harbor and events in the community. But a lot of these parents, I see it more and more now, actually. I feel like the group of teens that I first met when I started the organization, we all had parents similar to your dad, John, that were just like, suck it up, kid, figure it out. Go do it. Don't come crying to me. A lot of us didn't even know we had a disability until we were teenagers because we just weren't treated like we did. And I've seen a little bit of a shift, I would say, in parents that are keeping their kids more in a bubble. And I would say, as terrifying as it sounds, to let your kid try and fail, because they will. Like, failure is a part of life. They've got to do that early. Like, they've got to figure out, honestly, what their own limitations are and what their own avenues of success can be, so that they will one day know how to advocate for themselves. So I really encourage parents to put their hands up and say, go try. And sometimes I'll have parents being like, I tried and it was really scary. And I'm like, and I don't think it ever won't be scary.
Do you give them your number?
Yeah,
Because
I do.
You don't want them to be lost.
No.
And the child will fail.
Right.
And they're going to be so protective. They think they have to protect their child all the time. No, they really don't. They need to let their child do, as you just described, fail sometimes, not get hurt, not put in danger,
but get out there and get active. That's
Right.
another really big thing I see, especially now in not just in Alabama, but all over, is that when parents keep their disabled kids kind of at home and in a bubble and kind of very, very protected, it really prevents the kid from being active and living a super active lifestyle. And I think we can all find activities that are supportive to our daily life, like no matter what. I think everyone can find a joyful way to move their body.
You are so right.
You know?
You are so right. So we've all gone through the 13, 14, 15-year-old ages, and it was just awful for me. Just awful. You know, couldn't talk to girls, couldn't talk to guys, just a few friends, couldn't play on sports teams. So I was always the scorekeeper. It's like, wait a minute. What do you say to somebody who's with a similar disability or maybe a completely different disability? How do I cope with the rejection or the ignore me?
You just made me remember so many things about being in my teens and 20s. And I'm like, how can you flirt when you can't see like someone making eyes at you? You know what I mean?
The cues.
Like there's so many of us with disabilities of all kinds that are like, I don't get these cues. So like, how do I do this humaning thing? And you know, I've seen a lot of disabled people become really hardened because sometimes the world can just suck. Like, it's inevitable, and the world wasn't designed with disabled people in mind. So yes, a lot of people can be bitter, but I really encourage folks with all disabilities to find community in their environment, whatever that is. It doesn't have to be disabled community, but get active in some way. Find a group it could be a group that goes on a nature walk once a week. It could be a group that meets, and it could be a book club. It could be something, but you've got to have a support network. You've got to find people, because people are going to help you navigate that. And especially, one of the reasons I started my support group for kids and teens with low vision is because I couldn't talk to my friends at high school about flirting because they could see, right? That wasn't why I started the group, but that was just an example. Oh my gosh, it's not a love advice group, but it was just because I needed that support. So I also think finding that like inner disability support, like finding folks with the similar disability as you,
right,
and just figuring out that you're not alone.
That's right.
I think every disabled teenager and kid needs that. Even if you're the only one at your school, get out in your community, find a place like Lakeshore. Find a dance studio that has an adaptive class. Find, something, a music therapist to do a guitar group with, right? With all people that have your same disability. It does exist, and it might take effort and work, but that community is, I feel like, what's gonna sustain you and help you navigate those awkward and weird moments of growing up.
So assuming that person or we have plowed through all of that and come out on the other side feeling pretty darn good about ourselves, where are you going to be in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years? Where do you want to be?
Oh, me? Gosh.
Birmingham, I hope.
Yeah, no, I really do. I really believe in Birmingham, and one of the reasons I stayed and didn't go back to New York once Broadway came back and once the industry came back is because I feel like Birmingham is fertile soil for growth. And while Birmingham may not have the same advancements in disability studies, culture, community, it's like in New York City, you've got like a whole, mayor's office and there's all these disability departments in so many facets of day-to-day life. But Birmingham is growing in the disability space in such a big way with organizations like Lakeshore, with Culture City, with United Ability, with Callahan. There's so much here, and it deserves to be elevated and supported. And I really plan on, a big goal of mine actually is to start a more A big goal of mine is to start a disability pride movement here in Birmingham as well. So we need Disability Pride Birmingham. We had it in New York. It was amazing, but we have such great disability culture and community here, and we need to elevate it and let the rest of the city know what's being done.
I'll follow you.
Let's go.
I'm with you. All right, I'm with you. This is what we need here. Mm-hmm. Well, I've got to say, I'm a huge Alie B. Gorrie fan.
I'm a huge John Kemp fan.
And you are an extraordinary person. And I love everything about you, and I love your attitude and your approach to life and your joy and your zest and all of that stuff, because it's natural. And you're an exceptional artist.
Thank you.
So thank you for being a guest today, and I'm honored to be interviewing you.
I'm
Thank
honored
you.
to be in this seat. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us for season 1 of Nothing Without Us, a disability advocacy podcast produced by Lakeshore Foundation. We've loved sharing these episodes and stories from all of our distinguished and amazing guests with all of you, and we cannot wait to continue this work in 2026. Stay tuned around February for more episodes, and don't forget to like, share episodes with your friends, and subscribe so you'll know when the next episode of Nothing Without Us comes to you wherever you get your podcasts. Have a happy holiday season.
Nothing Without Us, a disability advocacy podcast, is produced by Lakeshore Foundation, Alie B. Gorrie, Terry Scrimshire, and me, Patrick Tomley. For more information, visit lakeshore.org.